as entrepreneurs, we all struggle. I mean, the business we struggle, the personal side we struggle, but we make things happen. And one of the best things we can do is bring together our personal and business side and make sure they're coordinated on a financial basis so that we can achieve all that we want to achieve, make smart decisions about our money. And as entrepreneurs, we're in a unique position that we can make some really big impact. Now, I have one of the top financial advisors in the country who has done that, brought together both the investment banking side, so the corporate side, as well as the wealth management side. And he is an amazing individual. He's one of our coaching clients who is making a huge difference, not only with his clients, but in his community, because he's also a rock concert promoter. So stay tuned. You're going to see a very successful entrepreneur who's going to share some ideas of how you can bring your own personal situation in line.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Patrick Foley, it is great to have you here with the magic of Skype. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here, John.
Well, Patrick, I want to dive in right away. I mean, you heard the opening here, investment banking, wealth manager, and rock concert promoter. Give me a little background here, the audience a little background so they know who you are, so we can really help them be more successful.
Sure, John, thanks. I have been a financial planner since 1993, and I grew up around the financial industry in the sense that my dad has spent 40 years in the financial field, and most of his career was actually in the investment banking side of things. So he was advising corporations. I got out of college with an accounting degree from Villanova, and I started advising individuals on their personal financial affairs, and eventually went on to get a CFP. Well, somewhere along the line, my dad recruited me to the company that he was working for. And at that time, he was head of investment banking. They had purchased a firm, boutique investment banking firm that he had been running for a while. He eventually got out of management, and the two of us teamed up, and we started a practice where we advise primarily business owners and high-level corporate executives. So we've sort of melded his expertise on the banking and the business side with my expertise on the personal financial side. And now we recently added another member to our team named Carlos Amador, who's a young MBA and also passed his CFP exam. And we have an assistant that's been with me for a decade and my dad for about 30 years, who's absolutely phenomenal, by the name of Janet Kelly. Well, and we are based just outside of Philadelphia.
Well, you got a great team, great location, and you're making a difference. And I want to come to it because one of the things, Pat, that's unusual, there's a lot of financial advisors, about 460,000 in the country. But there are very few that have developed like your dad and you, where you're able to serve entrepreneurs, because really who we're talking to today is entrepreneurs. And one of the things I'd like to do throughout this chance to visit, whether you're on the video, watching us on video or on the audio podcast, is to make sure we give some actionable ideas along the way. Now, one of the, so often, I don't know, what is your experience? Do you see most of the entrepreneurs, are they segmenting their experience, their business experience, and running that separate in their personal, or are they sometimes leveraging the two?
Well, there tends to be a heck of a lot of overlap, just because, in my experience, particularly early on when you're building a business, the business is such a taker of time. It just, you're working at the office, but then you're bringing that work home with you. And, one of the things that we see is sometimes there's things end up having to fall through the cracks a little bit, maybe on the personal financial side. Maybe, we find a lot of times we'll advise people through the sale of a business, and we'll find that a lot of things have been undone for a long time that maybe should have been done. The will needs to be updated, and maybe the insurance coverages aren't what they should be. So what I find from entrepreneurs is they're hyper focused on the business itself, and it can be to the detriment of other areas.
Well, and it is so important. I mean, it's well, most of us have families. We've got all the responsibilities that we have, and we're focused on the entrepreneurship, and it's easy to neglect the personal side. And one of the reasons I thought it'd be really good to get together here is that from a personal standpoint, we know that we want to make smart decisions about our money. We want to have money outside the business so we have that financial freedom. We want to make sure that we have the ability to mitigate taxes, take care of the errors, make sure our assets are protected, particularly if we're high profile as entrepreneurs. And then, and to the extent we have some additional money, the charitable side. And one of the things that's so powerful, Pat, is that when you have other entities, not only your personal situation, you have a lot of flexibility there of what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier the concert promotion and that is a charitable endeavor, and I'm a big believer in trying to find ways to tie your business efforts to a charitable effort, and then further to something that you really love, that's something you're just going to be passionate about, that isn't the business, and that's what kind of led us down the road of running a bone marrow drive and a music festival in our town. It's called the Whitpain Community Festival. I'm very involved right now of planning it and trying to find our lead act for this year's event. And we have, last year we found a match for someone on the bone marrow registry, so that was a tremendous outcome. But at the same time, it's something that, we involve our business. Our firm we work for has a foundation, Baird Foundation, that supports the efforts of the concert. But if you can find ways that you're tying sort of business, charity, and fun together, to me, that's a tremendous outcome.
Yeah, no, it is, because one of the things it does in your town, it makes, creates the awareness for the firm and what you're doing. And what I always love is when you get to do well by doing well, and
exactly, yeah.
You're making a difference, in the community, and certainly in that one individual, it may not have lived had you not had that happen. And this is. And then also, I do know, and we had Pat presented our Mastermind Group of top financial advisors share some of the pictures of the event. It's a pretty big event. It's not just a few people over.
We're hoping for 10,000 people this year, and again, when you look at what you're trying to achieve from a business perspective, as we're entrepreneurial. Our business is entrepreneurial in the sense that we need to go out and find people to be clients and to serve, and our business gets a great deal of exposure when we have 10,000 people, and at the same time, the flip side of that is 10,000 people is all the more people for us to be able to try to get onto that bone marrow registry. So, the more the merrier, both from our business perspective and also from the charitable end.
Well, it is, and this is, I asked Pat to bring this up when we did the pre-interview, because I see this as something, as all entrepreneurs, we're running really hard, but we want to make a difference in the world. We do it with our services and our products, but to the extent that we can just take a little side effort, sometimes we can do even more and help our businesses and the community do well.
And it's a mental break, because when your head's down in the business all the time, it's helpful to be able to shift gears for a little bit and do something that's a little bit different. My involvement in the concert actually grew out of my involvement with kids sports in our town, and that's what got me involved with the township itself. And I find it personally refreshing to be able to take your eye off the ball a little bit from a business perspective once in a while. It's a sanity break.
Yeah, no, we all need those, and I know your whole team, you're working on this because you want to help entrepreneurs really make some differences here. What are in some of the unique things that you're doing that you see? Not that we're trying to recommend, the Pat and his team to do it. What we want to do is, on this, is really share with you what Pat's doing so that you can see the possibilities out there. Pat, what are the, as entrepreneurs come to you, one, we've got to clean house a little bit on the wealth management side to make sure they're doing the smart things they should be doing, where beyond just focus on their business. But what about as you're seeing more and more, as the market's picked up, the exit transactions and so on, people are considering this. How do the entrepreneurs who ultimately want to do something like this kind of get prepared with someone like you and other professionals?
Well, one of the things that we try to do is take some of the things off of the entrepreneur's plate in terms of the personal financial side. We are focused on the markets all day long, and we can keep an eye on the portfolio stuff, and we can keep an eye on what's going on in the market, and provide feedback, provide guidance, but also, let the entrepreneur lean on our expertise a little bit, so maybe they don't have to be so hyper-focused on it. And areas like insurance, you really need to have an expert. I have an insurance license, but when we do a review for an entrepreneur or any investor, we're bringing in people that all they do is insurance, and we're having them look at the insurance, because you need to do the deep dive. So we're big believers on leaning on other professionals for their ability, and the entrepreneur kind of leans on us for their personal financial picture. So that's something that's at least part of that is off their plate.
Yeah, I really like what you guys are doing with the personal CFO. That as the CEO or the entrepreneur C-level person, we've got a CFO in the business, but so often we don't have one in our personal side. And what a good CFO does is they go ahead and really bring together, how you can make smart decisions. What are the things you should consider? And one of the things that you guys do so well is to go ahead and bring these outside experts. The insurance one, by the attorneys, the estate planning types, the accountants, and all that. That's invaluable to make sure this is coordinated for somebody who's really busy.
Yeah, what we find more often than not, and this is unfortunate, but there tends to be sort of silos within the advisors or within the entrepreneur's life in terms of his various advisors. So he has an attorney over here, he's got a CPA over here, and he's got a wealth manager over there, and an insurance guy. And none of these people are talking to each other. And what happens is mistakes are made. Things slip through the cracks because there's not a sort of cohesive approach to all these elements. So we have our a team that we work with, where we meet with about quarterly, that consists of an attorney, an estate attorney, a CPA, trust company, a private banker, and we meet and we review cases, and we collaborate. And many times the client will work with all or a good number of these advisors. But even if they're not working with our particular group, we want to know who the client's working with. We want to know who their CPA is. We want to talk to that CPA. It's a thing that to me makes perfect sense that these people should all talk to each other. But oddly enough, it doesn't seem to be the norm.
And you can ask yourself, all the viewers and listeners with us today. Are you doing that? I just want to take this as a moment, because it's so hard to coordinate things in our busy lives. And what happens is, if you can bring together the experts and have them really brainstorm what they would do if it was their family situation, for you, boy, the ideas are flowing, and this is where a personal CFO can come and kind of list those and help prioritize the recommendations, as well as you can then go through and say, okay, this we want to deal with now. No, that will defer. No, we don't want to do that. And Pat, I know you guys do that. What I love is, I went through that same process, and one of the ideas saved me $600,000. And so I'm a big believer in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And ideally, the best scenario is to have an annual meeting with all your people. So you get everybody in a room together, and you spend an hour and a half with everybody in the same room, and just reviewing each segment. You have each advisor talk about their area of coverage, and things do not slip through the cracks when you take an approach like that.
No, it is so valuable. Let me go to one of the first segments here. So tell me what you and your dad and the rest of the team are passionate. What are you working on now?
Well, first of all, we're passionate about businesses and the formation of businesses and entrepreneurship. It's funny, I was just talking to I have two daughters. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter, and I've talked to my wife about this. They don't really teach business in school. They don't teach fundamental entrepreneurship in American schools, and that I don't understand that. I think that there should be more of that, and so I've talked to my daughters about, well, maybe what we should do is start some sort of online business, and just so I can teach them, this is how a business operates. First you've got to get some money together, and then you need to identify a market, and you need to have a product, and all these things. But and then on the higher end, I see this done with multi-million-dollar big businesses, and I love it. I think there's an enormous amount of creativity in the world of business. There are very, very creative people, very, very energetic, and I think it's kind of unfortunate if you look. I feel like our politicians often are not our strongest leaders, because our strongest leaders are running businesses, and they're not crazy enough to get into politics. But I do think a lot of our best and brightest are entrepreneurs. So, we love having our hands on the formation of a business, and watching it happen, and guiding the person who's making it happen. So that's probably our biggest our biggest shared passion. And then we like dealing with people, and we're picky about who we'll work with. We don't want to work with the people that we don't like. So anytime there's an engagement, that's a two-way thing. The first thing you do is kind of sit down with someone and get a sense of, do we like them? Do they like us? And that's one of the most important things that happens, in establishing a relationship.
No, it is definitely. I mean, there has to be chemistry with any of the professional advisors. It doesn't have to mean that they want to go out for a drink with the advisor, or I just pick.
Sometimes it does mean that.
Well, that might develop. That's the positive that might
right.
develop.
No,
but that's not my. I was picking out some new attorneys for some of the things we were doing a couple weeks ago, and on the checklist there wasn't good drinking buddy. But if socially that works, that's great. But that's the bonus. What I'm looking for is a chemistry that I can open up and have that conversation, and somebody that you're going to have that conversation. It can't be like the dentist's office. Sorry
Right.
for all the dentists here, but it's got to be something that you really enjoy doing, and taking a moment away from the business to do this.
Yeah, and the first conversations, the what we call the discovery meeting, is very personal. It's essentially we sketch out the family tree and try to get a sense of what are your aspirations, what are your fears, and so it is a very personal discussion. So if you don't have a level of connection going on, then you're probably not going to have as personal a conversation as you should, and that means that the guidance from there is not going to be as good as it could be.
Yeah, and if somebody's just asking you only about investments, that you're meeting with a financial advisor, that's wrong. They've got to understand you, and this is why, Pat's doing the discovery meeting, taking a look at where you are, where you want to go, what are the gaps, and particularly among entrepreneurs, we're in business. A lot of times we make the mistake of thinking we're in business for more business. No, we're in business to support the quality of life for ourselves and our enlightened self-interest, but our families, our communities, everybody that's important to us, including all those clients, all our stakeholders. So this is, you can arrange your financial affairs and certainly your business to maximize that. And that's one of the things I think you guys do extremely well.
Thanks.
Well, let's go to the next segment. Pat, you're a guy out there using a lot of different tools. Is there, if you take a smartphone and is there an app that you would recommend to your fellow entrepreneurs?
I love the Kindle app. That's a pretty basic one. I don't know how specific it is to entrepreneurs, but I'm a voracious reader, and I read. If I get stuck in the line at the bank, I'm reading. If I'm in an elevator, I'm reading. So I just love that Kindle app because my book is with me. Literally, it's in my pocket wherever I am, and I manage to fly through books. That way, I try to alternate between books about the business, and I'll often post on our website book reviews about books that are pertinent to business somehow. But then I'll also rotate into something that's some thriller or something else again to give the mind a break from work once in a while.
No, and I'm with you. I'm Kindle, and I've been amazed on. I didn't download it initially on my iPhone. I would use it on my Kindle, and other tablets I have and on computer on occasion when I was looking up something. And I've got hundreds and hundreds of books on my Kindle now. And I thought, one time my wife took me out and, shopping, and I'm not into the shopping moment, and I got to sit down and have a cup of coffee, and you can read your Kindle and the book on
Actually, sometimes my wife yells at me for reading on it too much. But you're right. Anywhere you are, you've got a book in your hand. So.
Well, let's go to the next segment, which was going to tie to this. So with all those books that you're reading, what one would you recommend to your fellow entrepreneurs?
Well, you know what? I'm just reading, or I'm not reading. I'm writing a book review currently that we'll probably post on the site in a week or so about Abundance by Peter Diamandis, who was a speaker at your conference recently. And I love that book. It's pertinent to entrepreneurs in a couple of ways. One is that he's a phenomenal entrepreneur, and he really kind of talks about the idea of just thinking big. I mean, beyond big, no limits approach to entrepreneurialism. And he also talks about the global impact that you can have, and the sort of the charitable impact that you can have. So again, kind of tying in positive impact to business success. And finally, it's optimistic, and you don't get that very much these days. The news is it can wear you down, and he presents a pretty compelling optimistic viewpoint. So it's nice to read that kind of an outlook once in a while.
No, I just had the opportunity to interview him as well, Pat, for the podcast, and Peter has turned out to be a very good friend, and I love his book. I mean, I met him through the book, and it is if you need to have a little pick-me-up, on business, and I think the subtitle is "The Future is Better Than You Think," and
right. Yep.
And it's so you watch. Matter of fact, I'm in one of Peter's Mastermind Groups now, and we get together. And he just sent a piece the other day on that. I forgot what he called it, CNN, but I won't pick on CNN. It's all news. That it's just, it's selling us bad news. And it's so easy to get caught up in that. As entrepreneurs, we need to see, where are the opportunities? And this book really does a great job of it.
Yeah, there's always opportunity. I mean, you look at the history of, all you have to do is look at the chart of the stock market, really, and you'll see that no matter what happened, there was always, there was some pretty horrible periods there, the Great Depression and many wars and so on and so forth. But that stock market line, which represents the business health of America to some degree, it climbs and it climbs and it climbs. There's always something. There's always opportunity out there, no matter what negative is going on at the same time.
Well, I always love the line that the stock market climbs a wall of worry.
Right.
And,
right. Well, listen, we have just in the past, since 2009. You want to talk about climbing a wall of worry? The stock market has astonished, I think, almost everyone with the how rapid it climbed in the wake of the 2008 meltdown, and that I would you can argue whether that a lot of that might have been manipulation by the Fed or whatever other causes there may have been. The reality is that was an example of climbing a wall of worry, because there's certainly a lot of worry out there, and yet the market was shockingly strong during that period.
Well, and the thing that I think this speaks to all entrepreneurs is that capital markets work, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be linear, going straight up, type thing, but all of us as entrepreneurs in our enlightened self-interest are creating wealth. Okay, right. Some will do it better than others, and the capital markets is just a great way of participating. And we've done, and Pat and I, we've talked about the entrepreneurs and some of the studies. I mean, we did one just recently, and we found with entrepreneurs, for people with $1 million to $5 million of financial assets, 1 out of 3 has an operating entrepreneurial interest. I mean, that's huge. Mm-hmm. 5 to 25 million, it's now up to 3 out of 4. And then over 25 million of financial assets, it's 9 out of 10. And this is how you create wealth, is you go out and make things happen.
Absolutely. That is where the wealth is created. And when you do get pessimistic, and when you do look at the the global economic picture and all of the struggles, what overcomes that inevitably is entrepreneurism. It is that growth and dynamic growth of businesses in the capitalist system that tends to kind of bat down all the problems that pop up, because there's always problems popping up.
Yeah, and we don't know what the next ones will be, but they will be
Right.
there. They'll show up.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next segment. Pat, here's one of my favorite questions is, knowing what you know now, I mean, you're passionate about entrepreneurship. I am too. We want to help our fellow entrepreneurs, our like-minded entrepreneurs. What would be the one insight through your experience that you'd like to share with them that would help them be even more successful?
One of the things that we see is there's a little bit of a lack of downrange planning on business exits. I gave that presentation for the virtual summit recently on this theme, which is that you want to look at your business almost from the minute that you form it as if it were for sale. And the reason is, first of all, it very likely will be for sale. I mean, if you have a successful business, most people are looking to have an exit at some point. Or the other possibility is, of course, that you keep it in the family, and that's a whole topic unto itself. But most people are going to look to realize the value of their business through an IPO or a sale. More often a sale, and you need to plan for that in advance. But the other thing is, if you're thinking about the business like it's for sale, you're running the business a little bit better. And I'll make an analogy. I know people are trying to sell their homes. My parents are trying to sell their home right now, and when you're trying to sell your house, it never looks better, right? You've got fresh paint on it, you've got it all cleaned up, and you're keeping it spick and span, and it's the same kind of thing with a business. If you're planning to sell that, you're paying attention to a lot of things that make it a better business, and you end up, the business itself is better off for it. So I would, my piece of advice would be to always treat your business like it's for sale, even if it's not. Well,
and I'm going to go personal for a second. I had a couple businesses ago that we were, at a fast growth. We were growing at 70%. It was really creating a lot of value. Our thought was we were going to sell it for a number of years, and then all of a sudden somebody showed up that it was the right offer at the right time, and I probably would have kept the business, but I had two other partners and didn't have control. And so we got a very good price, and it was a great liquidity event and so on. But had we known that we were going to be at that point, there would definitely be a few things we would have put in place earlier. Sure. We kind of deferred that. So, I think that's extremely good advice. Let me go to the last section here. Resources. Pat, what do you have on your website? You mentioned a couple of things. Let me pull up the website. What's available now?
There's a video on there. In fact, the presentation I was just referring to is on there on the front page. There's a white paper on there that I wrote on the subject of business exit planning. We've got a kind of a news and insights page where we've written market commentary and book reviews and kind of random musings, if you will. And Carlos, my partner, is currently writing a white paper on the subject of tax incentives in Puerto Rico. He's originally from Puerto Rico, and they've got some very impressive tax incentives for investors and for business owners. So he's working on something on that subject, which will be up there probably sometime in the next month or so. Anybody can go in there actually and shoot us an email, and we'll add you to a email that we send out every Monday, where we have some market commentary from our chief investment strategist, and then these other sort of random thoughts and information that we put out periodically.
And you can go, it's bairdfinancialadvisor.com/the Foley, Foley group.
Right, or just foleywealthmanagement.com will also take you there.
And then also I found it by just going Pat Foley Baird, and it showed up right away too.
There you
go. Magic of Google.
Exactly.
So great website, some great content. Let me kind of summarize it here in this segment. Okay, here are the key takeaways, and these are important ones. I want to just, many of you know my background is in the financial services. I've been in it forever, and I just see so often so many entrepreneurs make costly mistakes. They don't need to, and I'm going to go over the three that really Pat pointed out, and there should be key takeaways for you to be thinking about. Number one is coordinate business and personal. I mean, it's, when we're fully engaged as an entrepreneur, everything is business. Well, there's a lot of different structuring you can do, and particularly doing it early can create tremendous value for yourself, your family, the community, whatever you care about. But you need to do it early, and it's important to do that. Second is, think of any financial advisor you're working with should be a personal chief financial officer. Much like in your business, you've got somebody running the CFO functions. Typically, if you're a CEO, you're not a detailed financial guy. You're a detailed business, you're leading, you're inspiring the group, but you need someone in business that's going to track the numbers, make sure that we're on track, that we're hitting our goals, and where we're not, where are the exceptions, and so on. And then what are the recommendations of how we get back on track? Well, that's the same with a personal CFO. They're doing that same thing, but on the personal side. And even more important would be the third point, the great personal CFOs, they have an expert team. In today's world, there's no one that knows everything about finance. But by bringing together the right people, you can make a huge difference. And that is so important. Pat, I want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with the entrepreneurs what you're doing and, more importantly, what they could be doing.
Thanks a lot, John. Always good to talk to you.
Now, and I want to, encourage everyone out there. None of this counts, watching or listening to this, unless you take action. Your current clients and your future clients, they're all counting on your business, but your family, your community, they're counting on you to make smart decisions about your personal financial affairs. Let's go out and make it all happen. Wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESNation.com.